Dragos Strugar. from Innopolis University, and today I'm presenting you the synergy between the two fields of recommender systems and adaptable dashboards. So let's start. Here's the problem. In past, we had these non-adaptable dashboards that we could do nothing about. We have the predefined set of widgets that get displayed, and that's it. We cannot remove or add any new widgets. So if any of these problems occurred, then we would be facing serious troubles. We would basically not be able to gain important insights from the dashboard, which is basically this dashboard's primary purpose. So how was this solved before? It was solved before by basically just clicking on remove for a specific widget and then clicking on add new view to add a specific widget. But here's a problem. When we want to add a specific widget, we need to handpick it, and businesses often hired a business analyst to do this for them. In order to save some time and to gain important insights, business analysts needed to do that on their own. So a new approach is to use recommender systems for this. So when a specific widget gets ineffective at conveying particular information, or it's no longer suitable to do its job due to requirements changing, then if we want to have it removed, then the system automatically replaces it with a new one, a more effective one, a better one that the system thinks it's going to be very, very useful for the user. So in order to understand how this was done, let's first turn now to defining some of the terms here. Recommender systems are here for a very, very long time, and they seek to predict the rating or preference that the user would give to an item, in this case a metric, to be displayed. And dashboards are a type of graphical user interface that provide at-a-glance views of KPIs, key performance indicators relevant to an objective or a business process. So yeah, this is, as we saw in an example at the beginning, pretty straightforward. And adaptable dashboards are dashboards that evolve over time. Basically, the dashboards that I presented as the example of recommender systems applied to dashboards. So this is how dashboards evolved. What I have shown previously, they only had same metrics all the time, and then they tried changing the metrics by handpicking metrics by analysts. And then a new idea was proposed is to use precooked dashboards, and these are different templates that users can choose from. And this solves a lot of problems in handpicking metrics because analysts need to do this job only once. They can have predefined a set of templates, and then people can just choose between these templates. However, this approach is often not perfect because if there are significant requirements changing, then analysts wouldn't be able to account for all this ahead of time. So adaptable dashboards are a next step, and they evolve over time, and they suggest relevant metrics all the time. So the problem that we're facing currently is the effectiveness of adaptable dashboards. It's usually varies depending on the domain that it has been applied to. So there's of course, no silver bullet, means that there's no one solution to every single problem. And for our specific problem, it was on project management dashboards, where we basically track project success and team success and how the project is going. Okay, so we move on to the method that we use, that is collaborative filtering. There's so many areas of collaborative filtering. However, all of them serve as a suggestion mechanism, and in particular here in our adaptable dashboards. So there's this huge classification going on. However, we decided to use the memory-based methods, in specific the item-centric approach. Why is that? Because item-centric approach uses item-to-item similarities, meaning that if one user has interacted with several widgets, meaning that the user maybe clicked upvote or downvote for a specific widget. We want to compare the similarity between that item that the user has interacted with to other metrics. For example, if one metric is really good, like the user has interacted positively with that item, that means that similar items are more likely to be displayed. And this is the idea of the item-centric approach of recommender systems, in contrast to other methods. For example, the model-based method, they assume a latent generative model, which means that they assume a model and therefore they generate recommendations based on model predictions. So as I said, we decided to use the item-centric approach, and there are multiple now inside of the item-to-item generative approach. There's now multiple generation approaches so that we can select. And the research has shown that adjusted cosine similarity achieves highest accuracy, but this is to be determined later in our research when I will be comparing all these methods head-to-head in a specific use case of adaptable dashboards. So also effectiveness metrics are also to be considered, not only accuracy, but other effectiveness metrics such as serendipity are also to be considered and taken into account, because we do not only want very similar items to be suggested, but we want to introduce some diversity too. So there are certain trade-offs when we are picking the best mechanism to be used. The first one is the bias variance, which is widely popular. So memory-based approaches, of course, do not assume a latent generative model, and therefore this nearest neighbor search is a low bias and high variance, in contrast to the model-based approaches that have a low variance and high bias. So we also wanted to address the cold start problem, because collaborative filtering uses past user system interactions, and if there are not many interactions in the system might be susceptible to errors. Okay, so I mean the suggestions are not going to be as effective as they would be if there were so many interactions. And this could be solved by precooked dashboards. We could make a predefined template that the user might find useful. However, we would add the adaptable concept to that. So we would have an initial template so that it is kind of useful to a user, and then using recommender systems, we would make it very useful, and actually embracing the change as all agile methods do. So how would we apply these recommender systems project management dashboards? There's so many metrics, as we said, potentially hundreds and hundreds of them. And some classification should be done in order to determine the similarity between these metrics. So as we kind of outlined, and as the literature suggests, there are 4 main types of metrics. However, other ones exist too: time, scope, cost, and quality metrics. And they are usually the most represented ones. However, other, of course, exist and will be considered in our process, basically hundreds of metrics. Okay, so this is the process that we would use. First, we define all categories, and we allow adding new metrics. And then we allow users to vote on usefulness of certain metrics, either by up and down vote or 1 to 5 rating or so on. And then our system would provide suggestions based on these ratings displayed on the dashboard. And this process continues on and on and on. So this is the process, and we would also consider using implicit feedback instead of explicit one. So the future work is going to be focused on getting a functional prototype as part of my bachelor thesis, and to determine which method is most effective one based on different metrics, and applying these results to an ongoing project here at Innopolis. And their potential implication is that by solving the problem of dashboards not being able to convey important information due to rapidly changing business requirements.